We welcome. I can take you to the Jubilee House now, where the United Kingdom Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner says the UK government is committed to deepening economic ties with Ghana, stressing mutual aspirations for growth and prosperity. Now, speaking during a visit to President Mahama at the Jubilee House, she said the UK government is aligned on growth and sees Ghana as a key partner in this journey, and that they will be there as a friend to support so both economies of the two countries can grow together.
And what struck me is your election was around a 24-hour economy, and we have a mutual aspiration for both the UK economy and here in Ghana. And I was only this morning seeing some of the entrepreneurs you have here and the expansion of jobs that they want to create here in the economy. And our long history of supporting your endeavours is what we're going to continue to do. And I think that we can, achieve great things together. And the fact that the UK government is aligned on growth and your government is focused on growth to create good jobs for people so their living standards are improved is exactly what we're trying to achieve as well. So we will be there as a friend, as we always have been, to support and to make sure that both our economies can grow and that people on the ground really see that and that they're able to get the jobs that fulfill their family life. And that's what we want to achieve. So I'm looking forward to deepening the relationship that both of our countries have had through your government and our UK government.
Well, in response, President Mahama stated that government will make adjustments to the national budget following the US aid funding freeze. Now, he said it is important to maintain strong partnership in these difficult times.
Young growing population, and so one of the major issues, and that came up strongly in the election, was the issue of jobs. And so working together to see how we can bring in more investments, especially considering that we're shut out of the international credit markets, to bring in more foreign direct investment, to be able to create jobs for young people is one of the things that we're going to be focusing on. And I believe that, with the history of British companies investing in Ghana, we've got a long tradition. And so how we can showcase the opportunities that are still available in Ghana and bring more British companies in to come and partner with us in that objective is something that we'll look to do. There's not going to be any change in our foreign policy towards the UK. We even want to work so that we can move our relationship to an even higher level. We have a lot of bilateral cooperation that we want to look at and see how we can align some of those things to fit the vision of the new government. And so we'll be sitting with your representatives here to see what areas of cooperation we're already having, how we can push them faster, and then see how we can align some of those to fit the vision that we have. We're going through an economic crisis that is known by everybody. We're in an IMF program, and one of the things it enjoins us to do is to be very prudent in terms of our fiscal discipline and to make sure that we're able to come out of the crisis and bring the country back onto the path of growth and create prosperity for our people.
Now from the Jubilee House to Parliament, because the Member of Parliament for Asindov, James Jachikwesim, is pushing for an expedited process to amend the Constitution and allow dual citizens hold certain public offices. Now, under the current dispensation, dual citizens cannot become members of Parliament or ministers, among other such offices. In the last Parliament, a bill to amend the Constitution passed the second reading stage, but was not passed before the life of the House expired. Making a statement on Black History Month, Jachikwesim, who was prosecuted for allegedly getting elected as an MP who was a dual citizen, insisted the time is due for change in the law.
Mr. Speaker, Black History Month allows us to reflect on the perseverance of our people throughout history, slavery, institutional racism, and the ongoing fight for equality. Africa, despite being rich in natural resources, remains paradoxically underdeveloped due to centuries of exploitation, colonization, and unfair global systems. I stand here not as a victim of political challenges, but as a testament to the resilience of every Ghanaian who believes in the power of democracy and justice. Mr. Speaker, the fight against dual citizenship restrictions on political ambition is not a personal battle, but a national conversation. Our Constitution, while a beacon of democracy, must evolve to reflect the global realities of our people. How do we marginalize those who have sought better opportunities abroad, yet remain deeply connected to Ghana? How do we exclude them from leadership when their hearts, skills, and resources are dedicated to building our nation? Mr. Speaker, it is important that we expedite action on this passage of the Dual Citizenship Amendment Bill.
I believe that there's also a gamut of other duties we have to examine. One of them that I'm also passionate about is the question of taxation, so that if you're a dual citizen and you're entitled to be a member of parliament, you're entitled to be a chief justice, and you are earning your income from, say, the United Kingdom, the Ghanaian tax regime should be able to catch up with you as well. Look at how our democracies, very weak democracies, sometimes even fake democracies, because every time people are looking for opportunities to cheat just to get to power.
We'll stay in Parliament because the minority leader has been addressing a news conference. I can take you to Parliament now to listen in.
Was to the effect that no, Mr. Kumi should not be allowed to make his statement. When he realized that there were superior arguments against him, the NDC now resorted to disruption, confusion, and their usual noise making. The practice is that when you make your argument, you sit quietly and allow your colleague opposite to also make his argument. But what did we see? The majority chief whip interrupted me, and when they realized again that their arguments before the House, those arguments were being defeated, the majority leader himself now got up and shouted, Mr. Speaker, adjourn. We saw what happened. This is a kind of democracy the NDC wants to practice in Parliament. Today, the NDC is saying that members of Parliament should respect the court. These were the people who were insulting, using unprintable words, just because they disagreed with the Supreme Court ruling in October 2024. We are decent Democrats. Is the reason why we have resorted to lawful processes in addressing our dissatisfaction with the conduct of the Koforidua High Court judge. We have not used unprintable words against this person, and we will not. But let me give you some information. I believe earlier in the week, my colleague Jerry Ahmed led a press conference and actually shared with you a chronology of events and a chronology of processes filed at the Supreme Court, as well as the very High Court. I would rely on same without wasting your time. But just to briefly put it, that one, there was an application pending before the court, which application sought to stay proceedings. Any fair judge will want to determine that stay of proceedings application before going ahead to hear the substantive matter. The court ignored the stay of proceedings. On the day in question, Mr. Kumi had written to the court for permission. The court again ignored. As we speak, no court process has been served on Mr. Kumi. Neither has any process been served on the Speaker of Parliament, nor the clerk to Parliament. I am the leader of our side. I haven't been invited into a meeting where I've been told that the process has been filed, has been served. So I don't know what the NDC is up to. Again, upon hearing of the decision of the court, Mr. Kumi calls his lawyers to file an appeal and followed it up with a stay of execution of the orders of the court. It is tried knowledge that once a stay of execution process has been filed, the court would have to determine it. So what are we talking about here? Meanwhile, there is another process before the Supreme Court, praying the court to make an order of prohibition and certiorari to quash the earlier orders of the courts. Isn't it also trite that per the laws of Ghana, when an election result is declared, the outcome of an election is declared, after the declaration, the next stage is the gazette. It is only upon gazetting that an aggrieved party may have to file a process in court, petitioning the court and challenging the outcome of the election. And this is supposed to be done within 21 days. The so-called application, which was filed by the opponent of Mr. Neskumi, was not an election petition. Meanwhile, the court claimed that it had taken judicial notice of a press conference of the EC to the effect that the results have been gazetted. So it is going ahead to treat it as an election petition. Now, if you're treating it as an election petition, you have to make a preliminary determination, which is the security for costs. All these things have not been done. We wonder why the judge will go on the path he has chosen to go. But as law-abiding citizens, we will continue to use the judicial processes for justice. As for the NDC, if they think that today they are using Neskumi to do politics, today is Friday, we are reminding them that next week Thursday, the president will be coming to the chamber. We are reminding them. They have forgotten that they are in government. We are reminding the NDC. So, if today they are the avant-garde of the rule of law, we've heard, good. On Thursday, there are other matters of social justice in the country that perhaps they have overlooked. So if they are showing us the path of social justice and the rule of law, we have heard them. From Tuesday, we, the minority, God willing, will also begin the process of bringing to the fore all the issues that the government must undertake to bring social justice in our country. And we will not limit it to Tuesday. We'll go on Wednesday, go on Thursday, Friday, and we'll continue until all the issues of social justice are addressed. So we thank them for forcing an adjournment today. We thank the NDC majority caucus. We thank them. These are useful lessons. Thank you very much.
Right, so that's the minority leader, Alexander Afenyamakun. The matter relates to the Member of Parliament for Akwatia, Next Kumi, who the court imposed some sanctions on him this week for failing to appear before the court at Koforidua. The member wanted to read a statement on the floor, but he was prevented from doing so because of his legal challenges. And this, the minority finds unacceptable, the reason why they held this news conference to make their points. The member, we are told, has filed some processes in court to stay the execution of the earlier ruling by the court, declaring him wanted and imposing some sanctions on him as well. So that's the minority that Alexander Fanyemalkem. The majority leader has also been meeting on this matter. Remember that we've been the business statement that was read on the floor today referenced the presentation of the State of the Nation address that is coming off on Thursday next week, and that's the reference the minority leader made, that they will be putting up some opposition to it come Thursday, but they will start the action on Tuesday, and that's, so we'll try and go to Parliament to have some bites on what really transpired on the floor that led to this news conference we just brought to you. We'll hear from the majority side, the bench, and of course, possibly, if we're able to establish contact with a parliamentary correspondent, we'll hear what the issues that came up. So let me bring in Kwaku Asante, our parliamentary correspondent. So Kwaku, what necessitated this news conference that the minority leader just held?
So Elton, it's been about 45 minutes of really heated activities on the floor. It all started when the Member of Parliament for Akwatia, who has now been convicted by Koforidua High Court and a bench warrant issued against him, attempted to make a statement on the floor. When the Speaker did give him the opportunity to do so, the majority leader, Mahama Yarga, rose to his feet, challenging that privilege being allowed the Member of Parliament. They insist that given that the Member of Parliament has been convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction, he must not be allowed to make any statement on the floor, and that doing so will amount to really an affront to the powers of the High Court to do its work, and that so long as that conviction subsists, so long as that conviction is in place, and currently he being a wanted man, and the Ghana police, the court having issued a bench warrant against him, their view is that he must not be allowed to make that statement on the floor of the House. And so Mahama Yarga did canvass that point, quoting sections of the standing orders, as well as the Constitution to back this point. Then there was the argument from the NPP side, led by Frank Anodompreh and others who at the time were on the floor, who insist that this is not even a matter that has come to the attention of Parliament, because despite the fact that this man may have been convicted, Parliament has not been officially informed. And so Parliament cannot afford to be taking such a decision, for which reason they believe that he must be allowed to make this statement on the floor. Roxanne Nelson also came in, arguing a similar point as was taken by his leader. And then ultimately the minority leader also gave his bite. So both sides of the House really were divided on partisan lines, while the NDC MPs believe that Ernest Yaokumi, by virtue of his conviction by a high court for contempt of court and a bench warrant issued against him, he must not be allowed to carry himself as if he's a very normal member of Parliament, and for all the privileges to be accorded him, and they will not allow him to make that statement. The NPP side did disagree. At some point, it degenerated into some sort of a confrontation. MPs on both sides getting up on their feet, some of them banging the table, speaking into the microphone, and the Speaker presiding, that is the second Deputy Speaker, sensing how things were degenerating, did ultimately adjourn proceedings to Tuesday. So as we speak, the MP for Akwatia was blocked from making this statement on the floor because the NDC side claimed that given that he has been convicted by a court and a bench warrant issued against him, he should not be allowed to carry himself across like a normal member of Parliament. Okay. And
Kwaku, in some few seconds, we understand that ahead of the presentation of the State of the Nation, the MPs have been asked to conform to certain rules.
Yes, two main rules. The first is that if you're a member of Parliament and you do not take your seat by 9:15 a.m., you will not be allowed into the chamber. As soon as the President, John Dramani Mahama, enters, National Security will take charge of the perimeter of the chamber. And if you're a member of Parliament and you were not seated by 9:15 a.m., you will not be allowed. Secondly, the car park of members of Parliament ordinarily will also be restricted for use. MPs will be given a different place to park. that space that MPs normally park their cars will be used by the Ghana Armed Forces to form their parade. So these are the two main security arrangements that have been made ahead of Thursday's presentation of the message on the state of the nation by John Dramani Mahama.
Right, thank you very much, Santi, for your time this afternoon. Of course, folks, that's our show for today. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. Those are the stories you have with the majority blocks Akwatia MP for making statement insisting over conviction. So, plus other compelling stories on myjoyonline.com. Well, whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, of course, this weekend I hope is profitable. Let's Talk Showbiz is up next. My name is Elton Grobe. Have a good weekend.